Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is a new edition of FaB GaB, where we're going to be discussing the Beatles Anthology. There's a buzz in the air right now. Everybody's excited about it because there's supposed to be an Anthology 4, sure it looks like, because
I sure hope so.
you see the hints around by the Beatles site and all that. So I think this is going to happen. The only question is what will be on it, and that's all speculation. But I've heard some rumblings, and maybe I'll get into that later on. What rumors of what may or may not be on here. But for this show, I have a special guest. I have Jennifer Abraham, who is known on YouTube and other places as Beatlebabe. And I was watching a live stream that she did, and she was discussing the Beatles Anthology, and I knew how much that she had liked it, but I didn't know how far she had taken. Of course, we're talking about
a wee bit far, so
a little bit wee far.
Little.
Of course, talking about when it was first aired. It's 30 years this year.
I know.
Yeah, can you
feel
believe
like 30 years?
Yeah, and we're talking mainly, I guess, about the documentary of the Beatles Anthology, not so much.
I mean, I talked about the book, the albums, and the documentary, all three of them, actually.
Oh, okay. We'll cover all the ground here with it, with the stuff. Well, to start with, I'll say that, the different decades, I found that there were different things that really got people started at a young age on the Beatles, where it really like kicked in and they became real fans. Now, for me, I'm stretching it here a little bit, but in the very early 60s, this is a very little child, of 3, 4, and 5 years old. I got into the Beatles for this 1960s Saturday morning cartoon. It's when I first really was keen on the Beatles. And then later on in the 70s, I really got heavily into them. So I'm kind of like a second generation fan, but really with the roots in the 60s first. But then there's people, in the 70s, they always cite the Beatles' Red and Blue albums, compilations as the ones that got them going. And then I even hear they're like the one album, the one compilation in the 2000s, right? Yeah. And some people even said Rock Band, the game, got them.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
know a lot of people who discovered them through that, actually.
Yeah, right. But now let's talk about the 90s, Jen, and let's talk about how you started out, I guess, getting interested or knowing about the Beatles, and then where Anthology on the first broadcast fits in.
So for me, my fandom started literally in utero, because my mom was one of those headphones on the belly moms and everything, and she was really hell-bent on she wanted a little Beatle fan she could fangirl with. She had no idea what she was bargaining for, but she got it. But so for me, it's like as early as I can remember, they were always a fixture to some degree in my life. I think I was about maybe 6 or 7. I started latching on to Sgt. Pepper to the point where I wouldn't get in the car unless it was playing. It was a whole thing for 2 years. Somewhere in there, I found an old VHS tape of Help. And that really started the gears moving for me, but it was right after that I heard about the Anthology project that was about to come out. It was the most perfect timing I could have hoped for, because if it hadn't been for that, I don't know if it would have kicked off in the same trajectory, but what a perfect project for somebody brand new, really, to the band in their history, to have their whole history in their own words, just dropped in your lap at that exact moment.
Right, this is 1995.
Yep.
And you were pretty young at the time.
I was 10 in 95.
Yeah. And so you knew about the Beatles. You were interested in Help, which is still my favorite Beatles movie, I think, if I'm going to pick one.
It's still my favorite, too.
And then all of a sudden, Anthology really, really starts it up. And what was it like seeing those kinds of things, the footage and rare pictures you've never seen of them?
For me, I think I had the first album first before it even aired. I had that in my hands, and I was just transfixed by it. There was some stuff on the second half of that first album that I knew, but the rest of this was brand new to me, and it didn't feel dated or anything. It felt as fresh as anything that I ever listened to. And I just fell in love with this and played it like end to end pretty much every day. And then the documentary aired, and thank God my dad had the foresight to tape it as it aired. I've still got those tapes, by the way.
Wow.
But just watching that, I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And just seeing how they started the whole thing start to end, and seeing them now today talking about all of it just blew my mind as a little kid, and really made me fall in love with this band so much more so than I could have even hoped for.
Well, how many times would you reckon you wound up watching the anthology?
Which version of it? The televised one? The televised one.
The first one that was broadcast, that was recorded.
Right. The 95 broadcast. Since I had it on tape, and it was one of the first Beatle things I had my hands on that I could watch whenever I wanted, I went through a period where I watched it every single day. No joke, no lie, no exaggeration. To this day, I can still recite it. Start to finish, whole thing, all 6 hours. It's one of those things that's like, I guess at that impressionable of an age, you see it enough times, it burns in forever. But I didn't know this would become relevant later on, finding out there's more versions of this, and they're all different.
Well, that's what I found interesting that you were talking about. I wanted to get the whole deal on that, because I mean, as a collector, I mean, I saw, first of all, I saw it when it aired in 95. I remember going to Tower Records at probably at midnight to it wasn't a big line though, but I remember going in the dark with some friends at Tower Records to get volume 1, I guess it was. But I didn't record it or anything. I didn't VHS record it, which is surprising because I used to record everything. But even as a big fan, and behind me on these shelves, I've got all kinds of Beatles discs and things and tapes and what have you. But I don't know why, even though I knew there was a longer cut of or at least one longer cut of the anthology stuff, I never pursued it, which is strange because I usually want, quote, the joke, every little thing when it comes to the Beatles. But I'm understanding that there's a whole bunch of what is the word? Iterations, versions.
It's been revised. Every single version of it that's ever come out has been revised from the last. There is differences, and some of them are so nitpicky specific of why would you even notice that? Why do you even bring it up? To other things where entire sections are entirely replaced. But I mean, they've been sneaky about it, because even from the 95 to the 96 airing, they were already changing stuff at that point. And I didn't know about the whole Mandela effect at that point. I didn't know there was a word for it, but I was chalking it up to something presumably like that I figured maybe I'm just remembering it wrong. But there was definitely at least a few of the performance segments that were slightly different in that 96 one that even stand out in my mind now, having only seen that the one time that it aired. If anyone has a rip of the 96 airing of it, I would like it so I could compare it really closely with 95 to catch all those, since it's part of a project that I'm doing. But I knew that the proper VHS release, though, of the anthology that they released around, was it 96 that set came out? I knew it was it was a longer cut, though. And I think this had, what was it, like 8 hours, 10 hours, something like that in there. So I knew it couldn't be identical because there was more to it. But I again was noticing there's different segments in here from the other one. But I was just chalking it up to maybe they had a different edit just because it's TV. Because I was a kid, I didn't know the difference at that point. But it didn't become super obvious until the DVD version, which I bought when it came out and then never properly sat down and watched the whole thing in one sitting until maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. I just finally did this. And I had this moment of, I'm either going crazy or there is so much difference. So I finally paused it. I started Googling this and fell down this whole rabbit hole of, oh, this is a known thing, actually. Just no one really talks about it, but it's known about that there is tons of things they changed. Some of them because of licensing rights. Some of them they found better footage. some of them make no difference, or they make no sense to me because they actually seem to be a downgrade in footage, like the Royal Command performance segment of it. Perfect example, because what they used in the first one, that was a perfectly good performance to show there. What they have on the DVD version almost looks fan recorded at some points. It's just like, sure, you might have a fuller performance, but it's not superior quality. You could have edited that to include the better parts and then spliced in the others just to fill it out. But no, they just used this subpar version there. And I was like, that's really weird. But even things like, say, the font used, like on all the little headers throughout the documentary in the 95 version, they've been changed entirely in the DVD version. And I thought maybe it was my DVD player or something. And maybe it was just like the fonts are installed in it. Maybe it depends on the player. Put them in my computer. Same thing. Like, no, that's actually what they've edited in. And it makes no sense because what they used in the 95 version looked really classy and timeless. What they changed it down to in the 2004 version looks like the font you would see on a DVD player that's just built in. I was like, that's a really strange thing to downgrade. But entire segments of interviews, it's really obvious once you notice it, especially with George, because there are certain ones they start using. Those are clearly from post 1995. And if you knew what George looked like in the late 90s, it's like, this is definitely different because this could not have physically existed in 95. What is going on here? But the more things I took notes of, I was realizing I think a lot of this may be from Paul McCartney trying to whitewash things to make himself look a little better in hindsight. He is known for revising things like that. But anything where it seemed like he and George were sniping at each other a little bit back and forth, those are all gone. Those have all been replaced. But they did this in a way to where the runtime still looks almost identical to the other version. So no one really questioned it or anything, but it's so strange. But there's tons of examples of stuff. Like the whole Magical Mystery Tour segment is the most obvious one because it's the whole thing. Virtually start finish, there's maybe 2 clips that are the same. Everything else is different.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And well, what do I have that? I had the VHS tapes, but I don't remember what they were. And then I got the one I stick with to this day is the DVD set is what I have.
Right. That's the 2004 one.
Oh, yeah. So that could be different from the 90s.
It's very different. It's very different. And then I find out that there was apparently also a Laserdisc version too. Now, I don't have a Laserdisc player, so I haven't been able to delve into this yet, but I've heard tell there's differences with that as well. And I'm like, oh boy. And it was through, the more I dug into this, I found out about the director's cut of the anthology from 93. And
that's probably what I was thinking when I heard a longer version I heard about.
Probably, because that one's the really interesting one because it's completely different interviews for most of it. And a lot of them, there's like less self-censoring. They actually say the names of certain people, like the real Dr. Robert. They actually gave his name in that version of it. They never say it in any version of the released anthology, though. It's stuff like that where some of the interview things, like, they're more honest, I think, to where there's certain things that come off not looking quite as glowy in that one. I think they thought the better of it before they wanted it released, and we're like, maybe let's just tweak it a little here and there, make it sound better.
Oh, I got that. I suppose no Pete Best though in any of the versions, right? In the early one versions, there's no. I mean, he's not featured in any. Even
he
though they
should have been. The one that he might be included in that I haven't been able to vet yet, that I just learned of, back when the project was still called The Long and Winding Road, apparently there was some really, really rough cut of what it was supposed to be, obviously never completed, from about 1981. I'm trying to get my hands on that now, because I really want to see what did that one have, and how far did what we got come from that.
You mentioned The Long and Winding Road. Yeah, that's what it was going to be called for a long time. They were talking about this even in the 70s. And in fact, John, you could see him. John is on 1974 New York talk show called, I believe, the Today Show. Not to be confused with Tom Snyder and the Tomorrow Show from '75. It's the Today Show, and he says, we're going to put together, a documentary about our career with the Beatles, and it'll be called The Long and Winding Road, and this and that. So they were talking about that for a long time, and I'd always heard that George vetoed that title because of it being a Paul song title. They just wound up calling it Anthology. I don't know. But when you're talking about footage and all this different footage, and I'd heard, and can you verify this too, that originally, earlier on, there's a little more Yoko talk.
Yes, there was. In the earlier versions of it, even the televised and the VHS versions, there was some talk about Yoko that wasn't the worst thing you've ever heard, but it wasn't glowing either. All of that's also been wiped from the DVD version, completely gone. Some of it's been replaced with stuff that talks of her more positively. Some of it's just gone entirely.
Yeah, I'm always a Yoko defender, as anybody knows who watches my channel. This is a no Yoko bashing zone. There's not many things here on my channel that I say, you can't talk about, other than politics and that, the obvious. But when it comes to Beatles related stuff, I'm like, I'm not going to engage the Paul is dead brigade, and no Yoko bashing here. You want to do that, there's unfortunately plenty of places to do that. That doesn't mean, people get that mixed up sometimes, thinking that I won't allow people to say, I don't care for her, I think she can't sing. That's fine. There's a difference between saying you don't care for Yoko, and if you don't, and you don't appreciate her music, but it's the way you say it, just to get off on a tangent. But so that's interesting, though. Maybe a little whitewash having gone on there.
And there was certain things that I thought were really creative with the director's cut that got scrapped entirely. Like, okay, with the televised version and the VHS version, I believe it's also on the DVD. There's that whole thing with like that little snippet from the start to help with them performing the title song that zooms out into the giant silver Beatles logo, right?
Right.
Now in the director's cut, instead of that at the start of all of the different episodes, there was little animations done for each era of it that it was based on. And I think it's a crime against humanity that those got lost on the editing floor. I'm like, they should have included those. They were so good.
Oh, wow. I've never seen it. I only remember the one with the Help intro from the movie, black and white. Yeah. I always thought that was pretty cool.
The final cut. Oh, I like it, but I'm just like, having seen that the other was on the table as an option, I'm like, we got ripped off.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's interesting. Well, as far as the actual music, so what have you bought or owned with that? CDs, cassettes, vinyl, anything?
So with that, I've had the CDs and some of the CD singles. I didn't ever find it on cassette, and I didn't even know till a couple of years ago that there were vinyl versions of it, so I haven't tracked those down yet, but they're on my radar.
I think they wound up reissuing them. Somebody could tell me if I'm wrong on that, because they had the original ones that came out in the 90s, and then I thought they redid them at one point.
I think they did. I think they did around, correct me if I'm wrong, I think around 2009 or 2014, one of those, I believe, is when those got redone. It was quiet. No one really talked about that either, but they happened, and they kind of fell to the wayside. I didn't have those.
There's a UK edition and US editions, I believe. I think I have a mix. I have the three of them on vinyl too, but I think they're not all
the same. Tracks on them?
Whatever.
Oh, okay. Well, see, now I didn't know about that.
Well, I mean, I own. Did I say that right? I have like maybe the first one is UK, the second one I have the US, the third one I have.
Gotcha. Okay.
You mentioned Laserdisc. I've never had a Laserdisc player. I went right to DVD. But I do have the Beatles Anthology discs of Laserdiscs. I have the box set, which is pretty cool. That's cool. I've shown that on my channel and everything. So yeah, it would be nice if anybody out there who's really familiar with those could tell us what that is. Is that the same as the DVDs? Is there any difference?
Any minutia you want to share with us that's different, no matter how big or little, I'd love to hear it so I can add it to this project of trying to document all the changes across all of them.
There's a book right there for you. The Beatlebabe book of Anthology.
I'm not sure anyone would care to buy it, but I
be surprised these days, I guess.
I guess.
There's a book on everything. But
yeah. So we doing the book?
Did you have a favorite of the three? As far as the audio goes, 1, 2, or 3?
I think I'm pretty partial to the first one, actually.
Yeah. It's funny. I've always liked 2 the best for whatever reason.
It's almost a tie for me between 1 and 2.
I think that era has it. I forget if it starts in 65 and it goes into 67, I think. But something that I really enjoy too. That's what if I do listen to one, I pull out that CD.
Well, that one's probably the strongest track-wise.
Second one. Now we get up to date here. We're expecting an announcement any minute. Probably by the time this video is up, or very shortly thereafter, there's going to be, I think, more of a major announcement. I'm just going to say here now what I've heard is, and this is just hearsay. Nobody knows. This is just rumors, the rumor mill. Some people say it's from people in the know inside. And I hope this is not the case, but that this Anthology 4 may be just tracks that we've already had, extra tracks on the Beatles, one of the deluxe editions, extras that have been on that.
And I worried that already, because I'm like, I could see them going the lazy route possibly, but I mean, I hope it's not just that. I hope we have new stuff that's added.
Yeah, same here. And I think it's a good bet that we're going to get upgraded versions with the new maybe MAL technology of Free as a Bird and Real Love, because now the other ones, the old ones, have the year on there. It says 1995 version or 96 version. This has been added to that from people have told me. So I'm wondering if that means we're going to get a different one. Now there is room, I believe, for improvement with the technology in the audio. So I mean,
it'd be interesting to see what they do with those, because I think that is a pretty safe bet. That, I mean, especially in light of Now and Then finally being able to be a part of this on 3 where it belongs, I would hope. But knowing that that's there, it would be a shame to not give Free as a Bird and Real Love the same treatment to match all the way across. But I also get if they include both versions, that's cool too. That because then everybody's happy, because if somebody was partial to the older one, you've still got it.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the new one 4 has Now and Then on it. I'd rather it be on 4 than 3, even though it doesn't fit the original plan.
Somewhere, as long as it's somewhere.
I'd like it on 4, and I'd like to also have 2025 versions of Free as a Bird and Real Love on this as well. That's 3 tracks there. I'd like the songs to be stuff that we have not had released before. It would be nice, but
Carnival of Light. I'm gonna
Carnival of Light. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to bet that it is, but
I know.
I would like it, even though I would like it, but I wouldn't like it. I mean, I'd like it just that we got
like a part of it or something. Because I mean, they did stuff like that with the Anthology, where we had like abridged versions of unreleased stuff. So maybe they could give us just part of it, even just so it would keep us all happy to know what did it sound like. And then if it really is as garbage as they've told us all along, we can finally be like, yeah, you know what? They're right. All right. Then move on from there.
Well, I definitely am not expecting anything. I mean, even if we hear it, I'm not expecting anything good based only what I've heard from people, the few people who have heard it.
Yeah.
Beatle people saying it makes Revolution 9 sound great and stuff like that. That's how bad it is. But just look, fingers crossed. What it is, right? What are you going to do?
Oh, yeah.
So, have you decided
whatever we get?
Whatever we get, right? Have you thought yet about what you would pick up with this one if you're going to get it? If you know,
probably all of it. I already pre-ordered the book. Like as soon as there's anything else, the book's been available on pre-order for months. It comes out in October.
All right, so you got the book. Yeah, that's the first thing that they talked about or announced, right? Was the book.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I mean, I still have my original one of that. And that I'm just like, this will be the first re-release we've had of the book. So I'm interested to even go through that like a little bit at a time and go just to see, did they change anything in the book? I am that anal about this project.
Well, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. I think it's the same book, but I'm not.
I've heard that too. And you know what? Actually, I would respect it if it is. But if it's not, I'm also going to point it out so fast.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, yeah, if you could think of any other tidbits that you want to bring up about Anthology, just now's the time to do it. I think we covered everything, all the formats.
I think barring going through like every individual difference, yeah, I think we covered like the gist of it.
All right. Well, anyway, it was fun doing this. I mean, I wanted to have you on here because I saw you talked about it, and I thought that'd be a good little feature. Because in this craze right now going on for Anthology, people might be interested, and they can also, as we said, share their experiences. How did you find out about Anthology? How old were you? All that kind of stuff. And did it start you on the Beatles? You know, what do you think? What are you going to do for the new one that's coming out? You know, the whole shebang. And if you know any precise changes in the different variations of the Anthology, let us know that too. All right.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So thank you, Jen, for being here, sharing this with us. And don't forget to subscribe to Beatlebabe's channel. And she does more stuff there than just Beatles talk. So you'll be able to see all of it. Okay, everybody, thank you for watching. Talk soon.
Bye.
Cheers.